The rain was cold that night. Cold enough to seep through my clothes and into my bones, but not cold enough to numb the pain in my chest. My name is Kai Martinez, and I'm an Omega. In our world, that's just a secondary gender, like being male or female, but with its own biology. Alphas, betas, omegas. We all live together in regular society. Go to the same schools, work at the same companies, ride the same buses. The only difference? Our hormones, our instincts, and the way society still judges us for something we can't control. Being an Omega means dealing with heats every few months. It means suppressants and scent blockers and discrimination that's technically illegal, but still happens every day. It means alphas thinking they can intimidate you with their pheromones, and people assuming you're weak or submissive just because of your biology. But I'd thought I'd found someone who saw past all that. I was wrong. It started 2 weeks ago when I saw those 2 pink lines on the pregnancy test. I'd been feeling off, nauseous in the mornings, exhausted by noon, emotional over everything. My heat was late, which never happened when I was regular with my suppressants. But I'd stopped taking them 3 months ago when Damien and I decided we wanted to try for a baby. Or at least, I thought we'd both decided. My heart had soared when that test turned positive. I was carrying Damien Cross's child. My partner, the alpha who'd been with me for 2 years, who'd said he loved me, who'd talked about our future together like it was certain. Damien Cross was the VP of Cross Industries, one of the biggest tech companies in the city. Old money family, Ivy League education, the kind of alpha who'd never heard the word no in his privileged life. When he'd chosen me, a nobody Omega working as a graphic designer, I'd thought it was fate. True love. The kind of story you see in movies. But Damien had been different lately. Distant. Cold. He'd stopped texting me during the day, stopped coming home for dinner, stopped touching me the way he used to. When I tried to talk about it, he'd say he was busy with work. Important meetings. Big deals. I told myself he was just stressed. That things would get better. God, I was so naive. The night I told him, he was in his home office. The spare bedroom he'd converted into his personal workspace, all dark wood and expensive electronics. His laptop glowed in the dim light, casting shadows across his sharp features. He was on a video call, and I could hear the fake charm in his voice as he talked to some business associate. I waited until he hung up, my hands trembling as I held the positive test. Damien, I said softly, knocking on the doorframe. Can we talk? He barely glanced at me, already pulling up another document on his screen. Make it quick. I have another call in 15 minutes. I took a deep breath. I'm pregnant. The silence that followed was deafening. The only sound was the hum of his computer, the distant traffic from the street below. He finally looked at me, and what I saw in his eyes made my stomach drop. Not joy. Not excitement. Just annoyance. You're what? We're having a baby. I tried again, holding up the test like proof. I know we said we'd wait a few more months, but it happened and I'm. Get rid of it. 3 words. That's all it took to shatter everything. What? I couldn't have heard him right. He stood up, and even though we were the same height, his alpha presence seemed to fill the room. Not the threatening kind that could make an Omega submit. That was illegal now, thank God, but the kind that made you feel small anyway. I said get rid of it. This isn't happening, Kai. But we talked about this, I said, my voice shaking. We agreed we wanted kids. You said. I said a lot of things. He crossed his arms. Things change. I'm not ready for this. We're not ready for this. We've been together for 2 years. And that's been great. Really. But a baby. He laughed, but there was no humor in it. Kai, be realistic. Do you know what having an Omega partner with a kid would do to my career? The board already questions my judgment. My father thinks I'm making a mistake being with you instead of someone from our social circle. Each word was a knife to my chest. You never told me that. Because I didn't think I had to explain how the world works. He turned back to his computer. You're a smart guy. You had to know this was temporary. We had fun, but it's time to be practical. Temporary? I could barely breathe. Damien, I love you. You said you loved me. I said what I needed to say. His voice was cold, businesslike. Look, I've been meaning to talk to you anyway. Adrian Blackwood and I have been seeing each other. His family owns Blackwood Corp. You know, the pharmaceutical company. Our families have been pushing for a merger, and Adrian and I, we make sense. Politically. Financially. The room spun. You've been cheating on me? Don't be dramatic. You and I were never exclusive, in any legal sense. There's no bond, no contract. You're just someone I was dating. He pulled out his phone, not even looking at me. Adrian's family wants us to make it official. Move in together. Maybe bond eventually, if it makes sense for the companies. We live together, I whispered. This is my home too. Actually, it's not. The lease is in my name. You never contributed to rent. He said it so matter-of-factly, like he was discussing a weather report. I need you out by tonight. I'll have someone box up your things and send them wherever you're staying. Tonight? Damien, I don't have anywhere to go. That's not my problem. He finally looked at me, and his eyes were ice. And Kai, don't tell anyone about the pregnancy. If word gets out that I got an Omega pregnant and abandoned him, it'll be bad for both of us. Handle it quietly. There are clinics. I'll even pay for it if money's an issue. This is your child, I said, my hand instinctively covering my stomach. That's a clump of cells that's going to ruin both our lives if you don't handle it. His voice dropped. I'm serious, Kai. If you try to make this into some public drama, I'll destroy you. My family has lawyers who will make sure you never work in this city again. Your family will suffer. Your friends. Everyone. The threat was clear. And legal, technically. Alphas with money and power could ruin an Omega's life without ever breaking a law. I nodded numbly in shock. Good. Now get your immediate things and go. I have that call. He was already dialing, dismissing me like I'd never mattered at all. The next hour was a nightmare. I packed a suitcase with shaking hands, clothes, toiletries, my laptop, a few personal items. Everything else I'd accumulated over 2 years of living with Damien, I had to leave behind. I tried calling my parents, my sister, my best friend from college. But my dad worked for a company owned by Damien's family. He couldn't risk helping me. I'm sorry, Mijo, he said, his voice heavy. But I can't lose my job. Your mother's medical bills. We can't afford to make enemies with the Cross family. My sister didn't even pick up. My friend said she'd love to help, but her apartment was tiny and her roommate wouldn't allow it. Everyone had a reason. Everyone was sorry. No one could help. By 8 p.m., I was standing on the sidewalk outside Damien's building. Our building, I'd thought, with one suitcase and nowhere to go. The doorman, who'd greeted me cheerfully every day for 2 years, wouldn't even make eye contact. I tried to book a hotel on my phone, but my credit card declined. When I checked my banking app, my account was nearly empty. Damien must have taken back all the money he'd been lending me. He'd always insisted on paying for everything, said it was what alphas did. Now I understood it was about control. That's when it started raining. At first, just a drizzle. Then a downpour. Cold, relentless, soaking through my clothes in seconds. I stood there with my suitcase, watching people hurry past with umbrellas, and felt completely alone. My phone buzzed. A text from Damien. Took care of cancelling your health insurance too. You were on my company plan. Thought you should know before you try to see a doctor about your situation. He'd thought of everything. Cut me off completely. My vision blurred. The pain was overwhelming. I could hear traffic, voices, the sound of rain, but it all seemed far away. This is it, I thought. This is how it ends. Then I heard a car stop. A door opened. Footsteps approached. Expensive shoes, the kind that probably cost more than my monthly salary used to be. Jesus Christ, a deep voice said. Hey, can you hear me? I looked up through the rain and pain, and my breath caught. The man standing over me was tall, broad-shouldered, wearing a tailored suit that somehow still looked perfect despite the rain. Dark hair, sharp features, eyes like steel. An alpha, I could tell by his presence, but it wasn't the aggressive kind. It was controlled. Powerful but not threatening. Please, I managed to whisper. I'm pregnant. Something's wrong. His eyes widened. Without hesitation, he crouched down and scooped me up in his arms like I weighed nothing. His scent. Cedar and something crisp, clean. My Omega instincts, which had been screaming danger all night, suddenly felt calm. I've got you, he said, carrying me toward his car. Hang on. The last thing I remember before passing out was the interior of a luxury car, the man barking orders at someone to call ahead to a hospital, and his hand, warm and steady, pressed against my stomach. I woke up 3 days later in a private hospital room that looked more like a hotel suite. Soft lighting, comfortable furniture, a TV on the wall. And sitting in a chair beside my bed, working on a laptop, was the alpha who'd saved me. He looked up when I stirred. You're awake. Good. How do you feel? Confused, I admitted, my voice hoarse. Where am I? Who are you? Is my baby? Baby's fine, he said immediately. You had a threatened miscarriage caused by stress and dehydration. The doctors stabilized you. You've been unconscious for 3 days. This is St. Catherine's Hospital, the private wing. I looked around at the expensive room. I can't afford this. You're not paying for it. I am. He closed his laptop and stood, moving to pour me a glass of water. My name is Ryker Stone. I'm the CEO of Stone Technologies. And you are? Kai Martinez. I took the water with shaking hands. Why would you help me? You don't even know me. Something flickered across his face. Let's just say I don't like seeing Omegas being mistreated. And you were clearly in trouble. I don't understand. You were lying on the sidewalk in the rain, bleeding and pregnant. I wasn't going to just drive past. He sat back down, studying me with those intense eyes. Want to tell me how you ended up there? I should have been suspicious. Should have questioned his motives. But I was too tired, too broken, too relieved that my baby was okay. So I told him everything. About Damien, the pregnancy, being thrown out, losing everything. By the time I finished, Ryker's expression had gone dark. Damien Cross, he said slowly. VP of Cross Industries? I nodded. Interesting. He pulled out his phone, typed something quickly. Very interesting. Do you know him? We've met. Business circles. His smile was sharp. We're not exactly friends. Something in his tone made me nervous. Why do you ask? Ryker looked at me for a long moment, then made a decision. Because I'm about to make you an offer, Kai Martinez. And it's going to sound crazy. But I think it might benefit both of us. My heart raced. What kind of offer? The kind where you and your baby get everything you need. Safety, security, healthcare, a future. And Damien Cross gets exactly what he deserves. He leaned forward. The kind where you let me claim you as mine. Publicly. Completely. And we destroy the alpha who threw you away. I stared at him, not sure if I'd heard correctly. Let me explain, Ryker said. And then you can decide if I'm crazy, or if maybe, just maybe, I'm your best option. Over the next week, I stayed in that hospital room and learned about Ryker Stone. He was 32, self-made billionaire, CEO of Stone Technologies, one of the fastest-growing tech companies in the country. Unlike Damien, who'd inherited his position, Ryker had built his empire from nothing. Started coding in his college dorm room, created an app that went viral, and turned it into a multi-billion-dollar company. He was also an alpha who'd been publicly advocating for Omega rights for years. His company had the most progressive policies in the industry: mandatory paid heat leave, on-site childcare, protection against dynamic-based discrimination. He'd testified before Congress about Omega workplace protections. And apparently, he hated Damien Cross. Cross Industries and Stone Tech have been competitors for 5 years, Ryker explained during one of his daily visits. He'd been surprisingly attentive, checking on me every day, bringing me real food instead of hospital meals. We bid on the same contracts, fight for the same investors. Damien's old money approach versus my innovation-focused strategy. So this is about business, I said quietly. Partially. He sat in his usual chair, looking more relaxed than any CEO had the right to be. Today he wore jeans and a black button-down instead of a suit, sleeves rolled up. But it's also personal. Damien's an asshole who thinks his last name makes him untouchable. He's been trying to sabotage my company for years. This, he gestured at me. This is just typical Damien. Using people and throwing them away. And you want to use me to get back at him? Yes. At least he was honest. But I also want to help you. Those things aren't mutually exclusive. I looked down at my hands, at the hospital bracelet on my wrist. What exactly are you proposing? Ryker leaned forward. Here's the situation. You're pregnant, homeless, broke, and blacklisted from working anywhere in Damien's sphere of influence, which is significant. Your options are: try to survive on your own with a baby on the way, or accept help with strings attached. And your strings are? You move in with me. Live in my penthouse. Let me take care of all your expenses, medical care, food, clothing, everything. When the baby comes, I'll claim it as mine legally. To the world, to the media, to everyone who matters. You'll be my Omega, and that baby will be my child. My chest tightened. You want to fake a relationship? Not fake. Real in every way that matters, except the emotional component. At least initially. He pulled out his phone, showed me what looked like a legal document. I'll have my lawyers draw up a contract. Everything in writing. Your rights, your protections, financial security guaranteed regardless of what happens between us. If you want to leave after the baby's born, you can, with full child support and a settlement that'll set you up for life. Why would you do all this? Because Damien abandoned a pregnant Omega. In our modern society, that's not just cruel, It's a PR nightmare waiting to happen. Omega advocacy groups would destroy him if it went public. Ryker's smile was calculated. But it's even better if you don't go public. If instead, you show up as my partner. Healthy, happy, visibly pregnant. It'll drive him insane. He'll know he threw away something precious, and his worst competitor claimed it. I'm not a thing to be claimed, I said sharply. You're absolutely right. Poor word choice. He had the grace to look apologetic. You're a person who deserves respect and security. I'm offering both, along with revenge against the alpha who wronged you. What do you say? I should have said no. Should have run. But where would I run to? I had $17 in my bank account, no job, no home, and a baby depending on me. I need time to think, I said finally. Take all the time you need. But Kai. He stood, preparing to leave. That baby deserves better than what Damien was willing to give. Don't you think? He left before I could answer. That night, I couldn't sleep. My hand rested on my small baby bump. Barely visible, but definitely there. I thought about Damien's coldness, his threats, how easily he'd discarded us. Then I thought about Ryker. A stranger who'd saved me for his own agenda, sure, but who'd also been nothing but respectful. Who was offering me a way out of an impossible situation. By morning, I'd made my decision. I'll do it, I told Ryker when he visited with coffee and pastries. But I have conditions. He smiled. I'd expect nothing less. Name them. Everything in writing. Contract reviewed by my own lawyer. You'll pay for that. I want medical autonomy. All decisions about my pregnancy and healthcare are mine. I want the right to leave at any time with financial support. And I want to finish my degree. I dropped out of college when money got tight, something I'd always regretted. You said you'd take care of everything. That includes my education. Done. He didn't even hesitate. Anything else? One more thing. I looked him in the eye. Don't make me fall in love with you. I can't survive having my heart broken again. Something soft flickered across his face. I'll do my best. Though I can't promise you won't like me eventually. Liking and loving are different things. Fair enough. He held out his hand. Do we have a deal? I shook it, feeling like I was signing a pact with the devil. We have a deal. The next month was surreal. Ryker's lawyers drew up the most comprehensive contract I'd ever seen. 20 pages of protections, guarantees, and stipulations. He hired a lawyer for me too, a sharp Omega woman who reviewed every line and actually got Ryker to increase the settlement numbers. He's being surprisingly generous, she told me after one negotiation session. Most alphas in his position would lowball you. He's offering more than fair market value. Maybe he really wants to stick it to Damien, I said. Maybe. She smiled. Or maybe he's not as heartless as he pretends to be. I moved into Ryker's penthouse on a Tuesday. The place was stunning. Floor-to-ceiling windows with a view of the entire city, modern furniture that looked like it belonged in a magazine. A kitchen with appliances I didn't even know the names of. Your room, Ryker said, showing me to a large bedroom with an attached bathroom. I had it prepared for you. If you need anything different, just say so. The room was perfect. Comfortable bed, lots of natural light, and already stocked with pregnancy-safe toiletries. The nursery is next door, he continued. Still being set up. I hired a designer, but you have final say on everything. You've thought of everything. I try. He showed me the rest of the apartment. His home office, where I shouldn't disturb him during work hours, the gym, the library. Make yourself at home. This is your space too now. Living with Ryker was different than I expected. He worked constantly. Up before dawn, video calls throughout the day, usually didn't finish until late evening. But he always made time to check on me. How are you feeling? Became his regular question. He'd notice if I looked tired or uncomfortable, and would adjust accordingly. When I mentioned craving specific foods, they'd appear in the kitchen the next day. He never pushed boundaries. Never tried to touch me without permission. Never made me feel like I owed him anything beyond what was in our contract. And slowly, I started to relax. One evening, about 6 weeks after moving in, we had dinner together, something we'd started doing when our schedules aligned. Ryker cooked surprisingly well for a billionaire. Can I ask you something? I said, pushing pasta around my plate. Sure. Why do you really hate Damien? It's not just business, is it? Ryker was quiet for a moment. No, it's not just business. 5 years ago, my younger brother Elliot was dating an alpha. Got pregnant. The alpha abandoned him, told him to handle it quietly. Elliot tried to manage on his own, didn't want to burden me because I was building the company. His jaw clenched. He died from complications. Him and the baby both. My breath caught. Ryker, I'm so sorry. I was so focused on success, on making my first million, that I missed the signs. Didn't realize he was struggling until it was too late. He looked at me. That's why I advocate for Omega rights. Why I have those policies at my company. And why I picked you up that night. I saw you bleeding on that sidewalk, and I saw Elliot. I couldn't save him. But maybe I could save you. Tears pricked my eyes. That's not your fault. Isn't it? I had resources. Money. Power. And I let my little brother die. He stood abruptly. Anyway, that's why I hate alphas like Damien. Because they think Omegas are disposable. And I'm done watching them get away with it. He left before I could respond. That night, I understood that our arrangement wasn't as simple as I'd thought. Ryker wasn't just some heartless businessman using me for revenge. He was someone who'd lost a person he loved and was trying to make it right. And that was dangerous. Because it made me want to trust him, want to believe in him, want to fall for him, despite my own rules. The weeks turned into months. My belly grew. Ryker came with me to every doctor's appointment, asked questions about fetal development, took notes like he was studying for an exam. When we found out I was having a boy, he actually smiled. A real, genuine smile that transformed his usually serious face. A son, he said softly, looking at the ultrasound image. Then louder, we're having a son. We. Like it was real. Like we were a real family. You don't have to do this, I said quietly. Come to appointments, act like you care. The contract just says you have to claim him publicly. I know what the contract says. I wrote it. He looked at me. But that baby is going to be mine in every legal sense. I don't do anything halfway, Kai. If I'm going to be a father, I'm going to be a real one. Something in my chest tightened. Dangerous. This was getting too real, too fast. But I couldn't seem to stop it. One night, when I was about 7 months pregnant and couldn't sleep because the baby was doing gymnastics on my bladder, I found Ryker on the balcony. He was standing at the railing, looking out at the city lights, and something about the lonely set of his shoulders made me walk out to join him. Can't sleep? He asked without turning around. Baby's practicing his soccer kicks. I rubbed my belly. You. Just thinking. About. He was quiet for a long moment. About how this was supposed to be a business arrangement. Strategic. Mutually beneficial. Nothing more. My heart started racing. And somewhere along the way, it stopped feeling like business. He finally turned to look at me. I look forward to coming home. To our dinners together. To hearing about your day. To feeling the baby kick when he's active. He ran a hand through his hair. That wasn't supposed to happen. I couldn't breathe. Ryker, you told me not to make you fall in love with me. But you didn't say anything about me falling for you. He stepped closer. And I think I'm breaking my own rules, Kai. Before I could respond, before I could process what he was saying, his phone rang. He glanced at it and frowned. It's my head of security. I should take this. He answered. Stone here. I watched his face change as he listened. Shock, then fury. When? How many? Lock everything down. I'm on my way. He hung up, his alpha presence flaring with anger. Kai, go inside. Now. What's wrong? Damien knows where we live. He sent people. My security is handling it, but... The lights went out. Emergency lighting kicked in, bathing everything in an eerie red glow. From inside the apartment, I heard glass breaking. Shit. Ryker grabbed my arm. Come with me. Now. We ran. Ryker pulled me through the dark apartment, moving with the confidence of someone who knew every inch of his home. Behind us, I could hear voices, footsteps, the sound of a struggle. There's a panic room, he said, navigating by the emergency lights. Built into the master closet. You'll be safe there. What about you? I'll handle this. His alpha presence was overwhelming now, protective and fierce. Your job is to protect our son. Understand? Our son. Even in crisis, he said it. We reached his bedroom. Huge and minimalist, somewhere I'd never been. He led me to the massive walk-in closet and pressed something on the wall. A section slid back, revealing a small reinforced room with a phone, water, and supplies. Get in. Lock it from the inside. Don't open it for anyone but me. Ryker. Kai. He cupped my face, and his eyes were intense. I will protect you. Both of you. I promise. But I need you to trust me. Can you do that? I nodded, throat tight with fear. Good. He kissed my forehead, quick, gentle, and then pushed me toward the panic room. Now go. I stumbled inside. The door closed behind me, and I heard the locks engage. Through the reinforced walls, I could hear muffled sounds. Shouting. Fighting. Something that might have been a gunshot. My hand went to my belly, where the baby was moving restlessly, picking up on my fear. "It's okay," I whispered. "Daddy's going to keep us safe." Daddy. When had I started thinking of Ryker that way? I don't know how long I sat in that panic room. Could have been 20 minutes. Could have been hours. Time lost meaning in the dark, with my heart racing and my baby kicking and the sounds of violence somewhere beyond these walls. Finally, I heard the locks disengage. The door opened. Ryker stood there, and my heart stopped. His face was bruised, his knuckles bloody, his shirt torn. But he was standing. Alive. "It's over," he said. "You're safe." I launched myself at him, and he caught me despite his injuries. "Are you okay? What happened?" "Who?" "Damien sent his security team. Thought he could intimidate me, or maybe take you by force." Ryker's jaw clenched. He was wrong. My people handled it. The police are here now. Damien's people are in custody. And Damien? We'll deal with him. He pulled back to look at me. "Are you all right? The baby?" "We're fine. Just scared." I realized I was shaking. When I heard the fighting, I thought. "Hey." He pulled me close again. "I told you I'd protect you." I meant it. Standing there in his arms, with the evidence of violence all around us, something shifted. This wasn't just a business arrangement anymore. This wasn't just revenge against an ex. This was real. He'd risked his life to keep me safe. And I'd been terrified of losing him. "Ryker," I started, but then pain shot through my abdomen. Sharp and intense. He felt me tense. "Kai, what's wrong?" "I don't." Another wave of pain hit, and I gasped. "Something's wrong." "The baby." I looked down and saw blood. Too much blood. "No," Ryker breathed. Then louder. "I need an ambulance. Now." Everything happened fast after that. Paramedics rushing in. Being loaded onto a stretcher. Ryker's hand gripping mine, refusing to let go. The wail of sirens as we raced through the city. "Stay with me," Ryker kept saying. "Both of you. Stay with me." But the pain was overwhelming. The stress of the attack, the fear, the adrenaline, it was all too much. I felt myself slipping, darkness creeping in at the edges of my vision. "I'm sorry," I managed to whisper. "I'm so sorry. Don't apologize. Don't you dare." His voice was breaking. "You're going to be fine. Both of you. You have to be." The last thing I heard before everything went black was Ryker's voice, rough with emotion. "I love you. Do you hear me? I love you. So you don't get to leave. Either of you." Beeping. That was the first thing I heard. The steady beep of a heart monitor. Then crying. A baby crying, high-pitched and insistent. My baby. My eyes flew open. I was in a hospital room. Another private one, nicer than the first. Afternoon light streamed through the windows. My body ached everywhere, especially my abdomen, and when I tried to move, pain shot through me. "Easy." A nurse appeared at my side. "You just had an emergency C-section. You need to take it slow." "The baby." My voice came out as a croak. "Is he?" "Your son is perfect. 6 pounds, 8 ounces. A little early, but completely healthy." She smiled. "He's in the nursery. Would you like me to bring him?" "A son." I had a son. He was alive. Safe. "Please," I managed. She disappeared and returned moments later with a tiny bundle. The moment she placed him in my arms, the entire world shifted. He was perfect. Tiny face scrunched up, dark hair, making little fussy noises as he settled against my chest. "Hi," I whispered, tears streaming down my face. "Hi, baby. I'm your papa. I'm so sorry you had such a scary entrance, but you're here now. You're safe." The baby quieted at my voice, nuzzling against me. "He's been waiting for you," the nurse said softly. "His father's been with him since the birth. Wouldn't leave his side." "Father?" She meant Ryker. "Where is he?" "Getting cleaned up. He was pretty adamant about doing skin-to-skin contact immediately after birth. Stayed with the baby in the NICU until we were sure you were both stable. She checked my vitals. He should be back soon. That man barely slept for the 3 days you were unconscious." 3 days. I'd been out for 3 days. Dr. Chen appeared about an hour later, explaining what had happened. The stress of the attack had triggered premature labor. They'd had to do an emergency C-section to save both of us. I'd lost a lot of blood, but would recover fully with rest. "You're lucky," she said. "Both of you. Mr. Stone's quick response saved your lives." When she left, I sat there holding my son, trying to process everything. The attack. The birth. The fact that Ryker had said he loved me. Had I dreamed that? Or had it been real? The door opened, and Ryker walked in. He looked exhausted. Dark circles under his eyes, hair disheveled, wearing wrinkled clothes that suggested he'd been sleeping in a hospital chair. But when he saw me awake, his face transformed. Kai. My name came out like a prayer. He crossed the room quickly, dropping into the chair beside my bed. You're awake. Thank God. I'm okay. I looked down at the baby. We both are. His eyes went to our son, and I saw them go soft. He's beautiful. Perfect. Do you want to hold him? Ryker nodded, and I carefully transferred the baby to his arms. Watching him cradle our son, seeing the gentleness in every movement made my chest tight with emotion. I meant what I said, Ryker said quietly, not looking up from the baby. In the ambulance. I know you probably don't remember, but I need to say it again now that you're awake. He finally met my eyes. I love you, Kai. This stopped being fake for me months ago. Ryker, let me finish. He took a breath. I know our arrangement was supposed to be temporary. Business. But somewhere between midnight cravings runs and feeling him kick for the first time and watching you be so brave through everything, I fell in love with you. Real love. The kind that terrifies me because I never wanted to need anyone this much. Tears streamed down my face. I told you not to make me fall in love with you. I know. I failed. He smiled sadly. But I'm hoping maybe you failed too? I laughed through my tears. Yeah. I failed spectacularly. Yeah. I love you too, I admitted. I think I started falling that night you told me about Elliot. Or maybe when you came to my first ultrasound and took notes. Or every time you made sure I had my prenatal vitamins. I reached for his free hand. You became real to me, Ryker. This became real. He leaned over and kissed me. Gentle, sweet, perfect. When we pulled apart, the baby between us made a sound, and we both laughed. We should name him, I said. Asher, Ryker said immediately. It means happy and blessed. I looked it up when we found out you were pregnant. Seemed fitting. Asher Stone. I tested it out. I love it. Asher Martinez Stone, Ryker corrected. He gets both our names. Equal partnership, remember? Over the next few days, I healed, and we adjusted to being new parents. Ryker was incredible, changing diapers like a pro, handling night feedings when I needed sleep, somehow managing to run his company from his laptop, while also being a devoted father. On day 5, the police came to take my statement about the attack. They told us Damien had been arrested, along with the team he'd sent. He's being charged with attempted kidnapping, assault, and violating restraining orders, the detective said. With his priors and the Omega protection laws, he's looking at serious time. 5 to 10 years minimum. Good, I said simply. The detective left, and Ryker's lawyer came in with different news. Damien's legal team reached out, she said. He wants to contest paternity and seek custody rights. My blood ran cold. He can't. He can try, she said calmly. But Kai, you need to understand something. Under current law, Ryker is Asher's legal parent. You two have a contract, you're living together, he was present at the birth. Even if a DNA test proves Damien is the biological father, parental rights aren't automatic, especially for someone who's abandoned a pregnant Omega and then attacked their home. But there's a chance. I felt panic rising. A very small one. She pulled out papers. However, if you and Ryker were bonded, officially mated under Omega Alpha Bond law, Damien would have no legal standing at all. The bond supersedes biological claims in family court. I looked at Ryker, who'd been quiet this whole time. A bond? It's your choice, he said carefully. I won't pressure you. But Kai, I want this. Not because of Damien, not because of legal strategy. I want you. Forever. As my mate, my partner, my family. A bond was permanent. Irreversible. It would tie my biology to Ryker's, create a connection that went beyond legal paperwork. It was the ultimate commitment. Can we have a minute? I asked the lawyer. She nodded and left. I looked at Ryker, really looked at him. The alpha who'd saved me from a rainy street. Who'd offered me a contract when I had nothing. Who'd fallen in love with me somewhere along the way. Who held our son like he was made of glass, and looked at me like I was his whole world. Ask me, I said. What? Ask me properly. Not because of legal strategy or protecting Asher from Damien. Ask me because you want to. Ryker set Asher in his bassinet carefully, then came back to my bedside. He took my hand, and I saw his was shaking slightly. Kai Martinez, I know we started this backwards, and I know I manipulated you into this arrangement initially, but you've become everything to me. You and Asher, you're my family, my home, He smiled. Will you bond with me? Be my mate officially? Let me spend the rest of my life proving you made the right choice. Yes, I said without hesitation. Yes to all of it. The bond ceremony happened 2 weeks later, once I was healed enough. It was small, just us, Asher, the lawyer as witness, and a licensed bond officiant. In a private room at Ryker's apartment, with our son sleeping nearby, we completed the ritual. The bite hurt less than I expected. Ryker's teeth sank into my neck, right at the scent gland, and I felt something click into place. Warm and right and perfect. Then I bit him back, completing the bond, making it mutual. When it was done, I could feel him. Not his thoughts, but his emotions. The love, the protectiveness, the absolute certainty. And he could feel mine. How do you feel? He asked, his hand on the fresh mark. Complete, I said honestly. For the first time in my life, complete. 6 months later, Damien's trial concluded. The judge terminated his parental rights, citing abandonment, assault, and the fact that Asher was legally Ryker's child in every way that mattered. Damien got 7 years in prison. I felt nothing watching him being led away in handcuffs. No satisfaction, no vindication. Just relief that he couldn't hurt us anymore. A year after that, Ryker proposed properly, with a ring, on one knee, in front of both our families. I said yes before he finished asking. We got married at a small ceremony in the garden of Ryker's, our penthouse. Asher was the ring bearer, toddling down the makeshift aisle with the rings tied to his wrist. My family was there, finally able to reconnect once Damien's influence was gone. Ryker's colleagues and friends. Dr. Chun. I love you, Ryker said when it was time for vows. You walked into my life broken, and somehow fixed everything I didn't know was shattered. You gave me a son, a family, a reason to be better, and I promised to spend every day proving I deserve you. I love you too, I said through tears. You saved me when I had nothing, gave me everything when you didn't have to, and you loved our son before you loved me, which somehow made me love you more. I laughed. I can't promise I'll always be easy, but I promise I'll always be yours. When we kissed, Asher, sitting in my mom's lap, clapped and yelled, Dada, Papa. 2 years later, I graduated from college. Finally finished that degree Ryker had promised to support. I walked across the stage with my diploma, 6 months pregnant with our second child, and saw Ryker in the audience with Asher on his shoulders, both of them cheering. That night, in our home with our son asleep down the hall and our daughter growing inside me, Ryker pulled me close. Do you ever think about how we started? He asked. Sometimes. I rested my head on his chest, listening to his heartbeat, steady and strong. Bleeding on a sidewalk, thinking I was going to die. And now I'm married to my soulmate, father to the most wonderful little boy, about to have a daughter, finishing my degree, living a life I never imagined possible. I looked up at him. You saved me, Ryker. No, he said softly. You saved me. I was just going through the motions before you, building wealth, chasing success, but never really living. You gave me a reason to come home. A reason to be more than just my company. We saved each other then. Yeah, he kissed my forehead. We did. I'd been thrown out pregnant and broken, left to die in the rain by an alpha who saw me as disposable. But I'd been found by someone who saw me as irreplaceable. In our modern world where Omegas still fought for equality, where discrimination hid behind polite smiles and company policy, I'd found safety. I'd found love. I'd found home. Not because of fate or destiny or biology, but because one alpha chose to stop his car in the rain. Because we both chose to turn a business arrangement into something real. Because we chose each other every single day. And that choice made all the difference.